Imagine you really like someone, you think about them a lot, you want to be near them. You feel this pull, this intense magnetic pull. That makes you check your phone every 5 minutes hoping they texted. Now here is a question that most people never stop to ask. Is that love? Or is that something else entirely? Because here is the uncomfortable truth. Love and obsession can feel almost identical from the inside. The racing heart, the constant thoughts, the desperate need to be wanted back. But they are not the same, not even close, and today, we are going to figure out exactly where one ends and the other begins. Okay, let us start with love, and no, we are not going to define love as a strong emotional feeling for another person, because that is the dictionary being lazy. Love, in the psychological sense, is a state where you genuinely care about another person's well-being, sometimes even more than your own. The psychologist Robert Sternberg described love as having 3 components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. You need all 3 working together, not just one burning out of control. In real love, you see the other person clearly, their flaws, their bad habits, their weird laugh, their questionable taste in movies, and you still choose them. Love is also fundamentally secure. It does not need constant reassurance. It does not panic when the other person is unavailable for 6 hours. It breathes.
Wait, so love is just calm? That sounds boring.
Oh, it can still be exciting, deeply exciting, but it is not terrifying. There is a difference between butterflies and a full-on panic attack. Now, obsession. Obsession is what happens when the focus shifts from the other person to the idea of the other person, or more specifically, to the feeling that only they can give you. Here is a way to think about it. In love, you want the person to thrive, even if that means sometimes they are not with you. In obsession, you want the person to be available to you, because without that, something inside you feels broken. Obsession is rooted in anxiety, not affection. It is driven by a fear of loss so strong that it starts to consume everything else: your focus, your time, your logic. If you have ever checked someone's Instagram 20 times in one evening, just to see if they viewed your story, and they did not, and then you spent the next 2 hours overthinking every possible reason why they did not, congratulations, you have experienced a little taste of obsessive thinking. Nobody is immune to this, by the way. It is not a character flaw. It is just your brain, specifically the limbic system, going haywire when attachment needs are not met. Here is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. Obsession does not announce itself with a flashing sign that says, "Hi, I am unhealthy." It shows up wearing love's clothes. Obsession says things like, "I am just really passionate about this relationship," or "I care so much that I cannot stop thinking about it." Or the classic, "If I did not care this much, that would mean I do not love them." That last one is particularly dangerous because it turns the intensity of the obsession into proof of love. The more anxious you are, the more you tell yourself it must mean you really care. Therapists call this anxious attachment. It is when your sense of self-worth becomes directly tied to whether or not someone chooses you. Every text that goes unanswered becomes a referendum on whether you are worthy of being loved. And here is the brutal part. Anxious attachment does not usually come from nowhere. It is often a pattern that was learned early in life, when love felt conditional, or unpredictable, or like something you had to earn.
Okay, so people who have been obsessive, that is not their fault?
Not entirely their fault, but it is still their responsibility. Nobody else can fix that pattern for you, and certainly not the person you are obsessing over. Let us line them up, side by side, no mercy. Difference number 1, freedom versus possession. Love gives the other person space it trusts. It does not need to monitor every movement or demand constant proof of loyalty. Obsession does the opposite. It needs to know where you are, who you are with, why you did not text back within 3 minutes. Difference number 2, the other person's happiness. In love, you genuinely want the other person to be happy, even if that happiness is not always about you. In obsession, you want the other person to be happy because of you. You need to be the source. You need to be necessary. Difference number 3, reality versus idealization. Love sees a real person, Obsession sees a projection. When you are obsessed, you are often not even in love with the actual human. You are in love with the version of them that exists inside your head, the version that fills whatever gap you have. This is why obsession often does not survive actually getting close to someone. The moment the real person shows their complexity, their contradictions, their needs, their bad moods, the obsession can shatter. Difference number 4. How it makes you feel about yourself. Healthy love tends to expand your sense of self. You feel more secure, more grounded, more like yourself. Obsession contracts you, it makes you smaller. You orbit the other person so closely that you lose track of your own center. Alright, let us get practical. Because theory is great, but what people actually need is a way to look at their own behavior and go, that might be a problem. Warning sign number 1. You interpret everything through the lens of this one person. Every song, every post, every coincidence feels like a message. You find meaning in things that have no meaning. Warning sign number 2. Their approval regulates your mood. If they seem happy with you, you feel great. If they seem distant, your entire day collapses. You become a thermometer for their emotional weather. Warning sign number 3. You have abandoned things that used to matter to you. Friends, hobbies, plans. Everything gets cleared to make space for this one relationship to become the center of your universe. Warning sign number 4. You justify behavior you would never accept from yourself in other contexts. You stalk their socials. You show up somewhere hoping to accidentally run into them. You say it is fine, but some part of you knows it is not fine.
This is painfully relatable, and I would like it to stop.
Relatability means we are all paying attention. Keep watching. Here is the part where we blame neuroscience, because honestly, it deserves some of the blame. When you are infatuated with someone, obsessively so, your brain floods with dopamine. Same chemical behind gambling, social media scrolling, and eating an entire bag of chips when you only meant to have 3. Dopamine is not the love chemical, it is the craving chemical. It drives pursuit. It rewards anticipation, not satisfaction. This is why obsessive attachment actually gets stronger when the other person is unpredictable or slightly out of reach. In psychology, this is called intermittent reinforcement. You give someone a reward sometimes, but not always. That unpredictability does not reduce the craving, it amplifies it. It is the same mechanic behind slot machines. So when your obsession is with someone who runs hot and cold, warm one day, distant the next, that inconsistency is literally hacking your brain's reward circuit. It is not a sign of chemistry, it is a sign of chaos. Can obsession become love? Fair question, and the honest answer is sometimes, kind of, but not without significant work. Many relationships start with a fairly intense infatuation phase. The brain is on fire. Everything is exciting. This is normal, and it does not automatically mean obsession. The difference is what happens next. If the intensity gradually settles into security and genuine care, that is the infatuation phase maturing into something real. If the intensity escalates and becomes controlling, possessive, or dependent, that is obsession calcifying. Moving from obsession toward love requires recognizing what is actually happening and being honest about it. It usually means working through whatever underlying fear is driving the obsession, and that work almost always happens outside the relationship, inside your own head, or ideally with a therapist. Let us end the theory portion and just paint a picture. Because love is not really a dramatic feeling, day to day. It is kind of quiet. Love is doing the boring stuff together without it feeling like a sacrifice. It is knowing someone's order before they say it. It is being bored with someone and not minding at all. Love is the absence of constant scorekeeping. In obsession, there is always an invisible ledger. Who reached out last? Who made more effort? Who cares more? In love, the ledger does not exist because that is not the point. Love also looks like disagreement. Real love involves two real people who sometimes want different things. The fact that there is conflict does not mean love is failing. Often it means it is working because both people feel safe enough to be honest. And perhaps most importantly, in love, you still have a self. You have your own opinions, your own friendships, your own goals. The relationship enhances your life. It does not replace it. So here is the summary. Love is choosing someone with your eyes open. Obsession is being unable to look away even if you wanted to. Love trusts, obsession monitors. Love gives space, obsession fills every square inch of it. Love makes you more of yourself. Obsession turns you into a satellite, constantly orbiting, never landing. And look, most of us have been the satellite at some point. That is not embarrassing. That is just being human in a world where nobody teaches you the difference between these two things growing up. But now you know, and knowing, as they say, is the first step to not texting them again at 2 a.m.
That last one was very specific.
Research, it was research. I was researching for the video. See you in the next one. Stay curious and please go text your actual friends.